Hello there, Commonwealth from him, and it looks like the wait is almost over of the two most credible sources. That being Nate the Hate is pointing to next week, or my birthday week if you will, and Jeff Grubb is saying June 9th. So is the Ocarina of Time remake being revealed at this time and being confirmed for a holiday release as Nate has been saying? It is quite possible, but the history of leaks when it comes to this game stretches far back. It is probably the game that has been discussed and rumored and leaked the most over time, and it goes in line with what's happened in the past also with Zelda remakes, as both Link's Awakening Remake, Skyward Sword HD, Twilight Princess HD, all of them were leaked long in advance. We knew about them, we just didn't know exactly when it was going to get revealed. And interestingly so, much of the speculation goes back to Zelda series producer Eiji Aonuma himself, who has a certain way of teasing upcoming Zelda projects. Not open world games, because those are tight and sealed completely when it comes to the Zelda team in Kyoto, but more about side projects, and I mean especially remakes. As we have seen in the past, that he's been teasing Skyward Sword remake, he's been laughing at the Link's Awakening remake. Like, that laugh, and followed by no comment, instead of utter denial, is how Mr. Aonuma more or less is pointing to that something might be up with this kind of project. And we've seen this twice even in the case of Ocarina of Time remake, where he's been asked about the dream project and returning back to the 3D origins of The Legend of Zelda and giving a proper remake, you know, Final Fantasy VII style. And he had the same remarks. It is very possible that Eiji Aonuma is the one who has really leaked Ocarina of Time remake long in advance. The only one that has been even close to that when it comes to this game is Nashweedle, when he last year, around the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2, went out and said that, hey, this remake is happening, it is real, but it's not going to come out anytime soon, that is to say in 2025 up to June 2026. And he was completely correct. Nash has been wrong, there's no doubt about that. His so-called leak about Nintendo Direct this year was completely wrong. And the credibility to the Ocarina of Time remake was also questionable and lost credibility because of that. But when it comes to Ocarina remake, there is a source that even talked about it sooner than that, because yes, Nashweedle knew about this, he said already back in 2022, and even we talked about the potential of this being in development on the day of the 25th anniversary of Ocarina of Time in November 2023. I am sitting here now with a feeling that this is probably the worst guarded secret when it comes to anything Zelda in the last 15 years or so, where it's not even the code names that have leaked or anything, it's just the information is out there. That might question who is developing it, because if it was Nintendo, you would have expected it to be a more closely guarded secret, meaning that it could be outsourced, which goes in line with what we saw with both Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask 3D, which were handled by Zreo. Same goes of course with Link's Awakening on Nintendo Switch, and Tantalus handling Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. But there is hints that someone else is developing this, and Nick, who in many ways brought up this topic even before that big blowout by Nashweedle, has been pointing to that this remake is happening, and wouldn't it be cool if we got another Zelda-themed system like we saw in the case of Ocarina of Time 3D back in 2011. And that one have gained some credibility following the reports about added production towards the end of the year. Of course, the demand for Nintendo Switch 2 is absolutely massive, but with Ocarina of Time remake, and especially a Zelda edition of the Nintendo Switch 2, it makes even more sense than ever to increase the production numbers and deliver what people absolutely want. But none of this really matters compared to what Eiji Aonuma has done, because for him Ocarina of Time is obviously special. It's the game that he started his Zelda journey with. He was doing dungeon design in Ocarina of Time, and we know that at least one of the temples was cut, in the case of the Light Temple and in the case of the Wind Temple, based on the medallions and the challenges you face going up Ganon's castle in Ocarina of Time. So it points to that this game and a remake of it has been an important thing for Eiji Aonuma, but also Nintendo, because they know how profitable this can be. They know that resources have not maybe been in place there to do it that way that we have seen with Final Fantasy VII Remake, and in many ways, maybe that project is exactly why we are, by all indications, getting an Ocarina of Time remake in the first place. It is a way of finalizing and creating an ultimate version of the Zelda game that started it all for Eiji Aonuma at Nintendo. But it is no doubt Nate the Hate that with his previous episode of the podcast, the one that he doubled down on in the June episode, shows that this is happening. He wouldn't put his name on the line if anything had changed between March and June, and he's still sticking to the fact that yes, this is Ocarina of Time. It's not a Metopia version of it, so the 3DS version, but it is a complete remake. And it's coming out in holiday 2026, being the Zelda 40th anniversary's main release when it comes to at least 3D Zelda. That is something that we cannot deny. What Eiji Aonuma, what Nate the Hate has been saying, especially after what happened with Star Fox and the reveal of that game, very close to what Nate was saying. Yes, he didn't hit exactly the mark in April, but he definitely hit the mark by it being separate from General Nintendo Direct, and secondly, the fact that it would be some way away from that Nintendo Direct as well. He's been more careful now when it comes to dates, not willing to put a specific date on the Nintendo Direct, just saying the week of June and nothing else, but Jeff Grubb might have just spilled the bean of when this is happening. And the last sign really is Monolith Soft. That whole Zelda interview they had had a peculiar timing when one thinks about it, and the fact that they're saying that they will have more in the future now, it points that they might be the developer, but Nate hasn't really said anything apart from the two details. That one, yes, it is real, it's getting revealed, and it's coming out in the holiday. And also, it's a remake, of course. But he didn't say anything about maybe what's most important with this project when one thinks about it, namely art style, gameplay changes, added content, and so on. All arguments that will make the game stand out from both the original from 1998 on the N64 and the 3DS remaster or remake, depending on how you see it, 15 years ago. Exactly, building up to this long-awaited and finally happening General Nintendo Direct. In many ways, there are 5 sources that we can really stick to and say, in many ways, leaked an Ocarina of Time remake. It is obviously series producer Eiji Aonuma with its typical laughs and no comment, followed by obviously Nate the Hate when it comes to credibility. I would say the Monolith Soft interview can sort of be counted as a leak per se, or hints at least, to, as they have been speculated that they are the ones doing it. So Facial Nick has also been bringing up, of course, that there's a massive budget tied to this remake, which would make total sense because the success of this game decides whether we get the next Hero of Time game, that being Majora's Mask. That could already be on the Nintendo Switch 2, just later in the life cycle, and then maybe on the next systems, a total remake of Wind Waker with the cut content, Twilight Princess equally so, and a system even after that, Skyward Sword. So you see how far of a horizon there could be if they do this correctly, even a Hero of Time game, as we have brought up many times. I'm just looking forward to stop talking about and speculating or sticking to these leaks and actually have it confirmed and revealed by Nintendo, because that's what it all comes down to. It's all about securing the future of traditional 3D Zelda games. It is about making sure that dungeons are living strong, even in the form, just if it's a form of remake, but maybe these games can be influential enough to bring the peak level of dungeons also in the open air games. We've already gotten a taste that there is potential in 2D Zelda with Grezer's projects. And we know that with the right level of budget, with the skilled enough team, with the right art style, gameplay, content, this remake is gonna meet expectations. It can sell 10 million copies, especially based on the install base that we see of the Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo needs a hit when there's no Pokemon, when there's no 3D Mario, as Nate the Hate also pointed to, and the second half of the year looks rather bleak when it comes to 5+ million sellers on the Nintendo Switch 2. But what do you think about an Ocarina of Time remake and the leaks that have been mounting up over the years, and especially the couple of months up to the final leak of the June General Nintendo Direct by both Jeff Grubb and Nate the Hate? Sound off in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell to not miss any upcoming videos. Last but not least, a big thanks to you for watching and to all our patreon.com/commonrealm patrons. Special shoutouts go to our heroes, Cheryl, Garrett Hoy, Holly Wolf and Kintaro. You rock, and please enjoy these awesome videos.